All right, welcome back to the 63rd episode of the podcast, The Unknown. And my name is Michael Volpe. I report from Chicago, Illinois. That's in Cook County, Illinois. And I write at michaelvolpe.substack.com. My broadcast partner is Richard Luthmann. He is somewhere around Fort Myers, Florida. Normally, that's it. Normally he's in Lee County. Fort Myers is always in Lee County. Well, maybe sometimes they change it, and that's named after Robert Edward Lee. And and then you write at Luthmann, Luthmann.substack.com. And you guys should all subscribe. Free and paid subscriptions available. All right. So we got a lot to talk about. There were a fair amount of elections last night, mostly in predominantly Democratic areas, but the Democrats certainly won, I think, everywhere. Virginia governor, New Jersey governor, New York mayor, and Virginia attorney general. Anything else that I'm missing? There were some elections in Pennsylvania and I think some other states as well. So they're taking victory laps. Republicans are saying, well, of course they won. Look at the states that were up and played. And is there anything else that we should know?
I think that this was a loss for the Democratic Party. It was a win for certain Democrats, but a loss for the Democratic Party because I think that what they did
only MAGA would say
unwittingly,
Democrats won everywhere, but somehow
on their own turf, unwittingly for the 2026 elections, they've given Donald Trump and the Republicans a huge campaign piece here. It's a battle against the radical left maniacs. It's a battle against socialism. Communism, a battle against Islamism and Sharia law. This is a battle for the soul of America.
Right. Yeah. You're saying this was the closest race. Oh, yeah. 40, it wasn't even that close, but this was the closest that I found. So you're saying if this guy, Jason Miyares, hopefully I pronounced that right, if he had won and he's a Republican, that would have been bad for the Republicans in 2026.
I think that
they wouldn't have had this guy as a foil.
Yeah.
This guy, most people know him, but if you don't, he was the one who was dreaming about killing Republicans because they wouldn't pass gun control or some other nonsense. I didn't realize those texts are like 4 years old, so it wasn't like he was doing it yesterday, but I guess it hurt him because his race was a lot closer than everybody else's, but it didn't hurt him that much. People didn't care.
Michael, the text from
by the way, we were wrong. We were on with Tom Lemons, and we all said, boy, this is bad for him. He should drop out. Not only did he not need to drop out, but he won. How did we get that wrong? You said this is great. This guy should keep running because they're going to lose as a result of him. And he got 53.2% of the vote.
It's no different than Zohran Mamdani's quotes from a few years ago, his tweets where he talked about defunding the police. He talked about Sharia law. He talked about all these things. This guy, Jay Jones, let him sit around, and people wonder why the systems are broken. You walk into court, and you wonder why the system is broken. You want to walk to family court. You wonder why the system is broken. You keep on electing these maniacs to state and local municipal level government, and that's what you're going to get. You plant corn, you get corn. And so what this is going to show is that, and it's going to crystallize that the political philosophy that President Trump embraces, America first and make America great again, is the choice in 2026. And it's not
but
socialist.
Wait. Whoa, stop. All the Republican candidates brought that. This Winsome Earl, by the way, people kept saying you win some, you lose some. Wow, you really came up with a cool one. All right, this lady is America first. This is a Trump clone, and she didn't just get beat; she got her butt kicked. And
that's because the people who pulled the lever in Virginia are racist. They didn't want to see a black woman as the governor.
She lost.
All the Democratic voters were racist. That's what.
Oh my God! Nothing is just a pure loss. Everything is an excuse. And then Mickey Shapiro, this lady right here, I thought she did a whole bunch of bad stuff every which way. That's all I heard from the conservative media, that she was a terrible candidate. Scott Preston.
I'll make a prediction. We'll find that Phil Murphy put his thumb on the scale with the elections. And
Right.
there's going to be
Yes.
election. There'll be prosecutions probably because
Wait,
of
wait, wait.
election manipulation
I have a,
through New Jersey.
I have a question for you. Scott Pressler basically moved. I think he did move to New Jersey. I think he probably rented something out, and he never loses because he solely was given credit for winning Trump, Pennsylvania. How could such a weak candidate in Mickey Sherrill win by what are we 13% if Scott Pressler was camped out in New Jersey?
Because you have a lot of fools in New Jersey that believe that the Democratic Party giveaways,
But
the Marxist giveaways,
he
are actually going to happen.
understands the fools and he can get the right vote out. I was told that Scott
Then
Pressler
you're
was
saying it's right, Michael. You're Exhibit A for why there was election manipulation, if that's the case,
right,
right?
right.
Something happened with who counts. It's not who votes; it's who counts the votes, right,
All
Mike?
right,
I think you have to do a
now
full investigation.
I did want to point this out. Pressler wanted to vote against the three Democrats in retention elections, and he actually got kind of close. 61, 61, 61. That's good. That's good if you're trying to not retain them. That's bad for all three of them. That it's not a loss, but that's embarrassing. In a retention election, if you don't get 70% of the vote, you're not well liked. Almost no one knows any of these guys. They have no idea what they did as judges, and so most people just retain because they figured that's what you should do. And so to be at 61%, I think actually Scott did pretty well in those, though they're not wins for him. But I'm still confused. Scott Pressler is a vote getting guru, and he lived in New Jersey. And so why did Mickey Sherrill win by 13% then?
I don't know, Mike. You're going to have to ask Scotty Press.
Maybe he's not such a vote getting guru. Maybe he was given credit for Trump when Trump should have gotten credit for Trump. Maybe that's what it is. And by the way, they
for everything anyway, because Trump is Trump. That's how it works.
Right. And Republicans lost. These are somewhat minor races in Georgia. I don't know what happened in Mississippi. And now, finally, let's talk about the most high profile race. Zohran, is that how you pronounce his name?
Zohran.
Zohran Mamdani versus Andrew Cuomo, Curtis Lee. Well, there was a few other ones in there. I stick with my analysis before from last week. He won. He's actually a very good politician. He has the most important trait in this day and age, which is charm, charisma, affability, and being able to relate. Very similar to Barack Obama in that way. Very similar to Bill Clinton in that way.
Very similar to Vladimir Ilyich Lenin. Yes, he's
Lenin,
right.
yeah, and you could Hitler. He's different. Hitler was different. He wasn't affable. He was very charismatic, but not affable. This guy is affable. Now he can flip the switch where he gets very angry, but that doesn't come out that often. So that's number one. And then that masks his radical policies. And that way, he's very similar to Obama. He's kind of like Obama 2.0. Number two, he's buying votes. He's telling you he's going to freeze your rent, that all of your bus fare is going to be free. Everything is going to be free. And someone else is going to pay for it.
Free PK, free this.
That plays well. Look, costs are very high in New York, and he honed in on what people were concerned with, and he went with those issues. And number three, which is extremely important, his candidates, his opponents were weak. This was I haven't followed New York long enough, but if there was a weaker three candidates, God help us in that election. These are three incredibly weak candidates, and Republicans. Oh my God! 2 years ago, you were treating this guy like he's the devil. He's the worst thing ever. We need to get him out. We need to destroy his career. He's horrible. He kills old people. He puts people in homes and won't let them leave because of a mild cold-like virus. I'm talking about COVID. Then, after years of slamming him and going after him, he resigns. And now that he's running against Mamdani, he's the savior? Are you all kidding me?
There was a very funny Babylon Bee piece the other day, how elderly Jews in New York were paralyzed whether to vote for the candidate that would kill the Jews or the candidate that would kill the elderly. It was, but you're 100% right. I heard it put it the way that they had 3 bowls of crap in front of them, and you had to figure out which one was the most palatable to eat. These are terrible candidates. And the Republicans, I put an article out months ago saying that the person that should have run was Andrea Catsimatidis, John Catsimatidis, the billionaire media mogul and supermarket mogul's daughter, who's the the president of the Manhattan Young Republicans. A charismatic young leader to go against the Mamdani charismatic young leader, and she would have done a lot better than 8% or 7% that Chris Lewa got. Cuomo, that's the problem. You have a lot of people that were conditioned to hate Cuomo, and you have a whole bunch of people that are conditioned to love Cuomo for a while too. And that if you saw the crosstabs in Brooklyn and in Queens, you have all these Democrat voters that have pulled the lever for Cuomo from Mario on, and so they came and they pulled the lever for Cuomo too. So Mike, it's just a mess. He has 100%.
He has 100% name recognition. Now, as I understand it, this was the most votes, the most people to get out the vote by percentage since like the 60s.
1969, John Lindsay.
Why would so many people go out and vote for 3 awful candidates? Wouldn't you expect the vote to be?
Sense this is a watershed election. This changes the direction of the city of New York.
I don't think it does.
And now it's not
candidates, no matter who won.
It's for a lot of people. It's not about if we're going to buy a property in Florida. Today, it's about when are we going to buy the property in Florida. When are we going to buy the property in Texas or North Carolina?
I think if that was
that we haven't seen since the 1970s.
If that was true, he wouldn't have won. That's overblown.
No, Michael, you're 100% wrong. Michael, I understand your politics better than anybody. I was a former law chair of the New York State Reform Party. What has to happen is this politically. In order for them to put in a lot of this stuff, it has to pass the state legislature, and it's not doable in 2026 because there's a gubernatorial election, and Kathy Hochul has to win. So they can't put in exit tax. They can't put in all this, this regulation until 2027. So you have a year to get out. If you're listening to me and you're in New York, you got a year to get out.
Okay. All right. So as this was unfolding, Tucker Carlson interviewed this guy who you're looking at on the screen. His name is Nick Fuentes. He is the leader of the Groypers. I had to study all of this. He's a neo-Nazi. He hates everyone. He's an incel, supposedly, which means he doesn't have sex. But nobody knows what his private life is like. But he's definitely a racist, a sexist. He said that Hitler is cool. He said that Stalin, who put my grandfather into a gulag for about a decade, was one of his heroes. And Tucker put him on the air. Let's watch for a minute now. The part we're going to watch is Daily Wire. Why something about the Daily Wire and Nick Fuentes. Daily Wire is the I guess media organization run by Ben Shapiro.
I tweeted at Ben Shapiro. I said, I've never seen anything on the Daily Wire that's actually critical of Israel. And he quote tweets me. And at this time, I have 1,000 followers on Twitter.
How old are you?
I'm 18. I'm a freshman.
Still a freshman in college, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And this is even before I started my show. And I don't know, I probably got 100 likes on this tweet. It wasn't a viral tweet. He quote tweets me and says, to accuse a Jew of dual loyalty is the surest sign of anti-Semitism. And this is how it sort of begins. And I see this tweet. And by the way, that was on Christmas Eve in 2016.
He immediately called you an anti-Semite.
Mm-hmm. So I'm driving to Christmas Eve Mass with my family, and I see on Twitter the notification comes up, Ben Shapiro quote tweets me, calling me an anti-Semite.
And he never challenged him about any of his anti-Semitic stuff. And I want to get up. So Ben then, after this interview comes out, he did a pretty long thing. We can't watch the whole 42 minutes that Ben did, but here's a couple minutes, And he quotes a lot of stuff Fuentes said.
Hate Tucker Carlson's laundered anti-Americanism. Republicans think it's trash. Independents think it's trash. Democrats think it's trash. Americans are not pro-segregation, pro-rape, anti-woman, pro-child marriage, anti-black, anti-Jew, anti-Indian, anti-Latino, anti-Constitution, pro-Hitler nutjobs like Nick Fuentes. And Americans are not pro-Putin, pro-Iran, pro-China, pro-Venezuela, pro-Hamas, pro-Fuentes, pro-Tate idiots like Tucker Carlson. They hate this vile garbage. If Republicans decide to cower before the likes of neo-Nazis and their propagandizers, they deserve to lose. And they will lose. Neo-Nazis and their propagandizers are not Republicans. They are not America First. They are not MAGA. They sure as hell aren't conservative. These people aren't to my right. They are not attached in any way to the fundamental principles of conservatism. And these people have already declared themselves to be my enemies. I'd be a fool not to take them seriously. If they get their way, they will hollow out the Republican Party, lead it to electoral catastrophe, and empty it and the country of any semblance of decency in the process. My answer is no. No to the Groypers. No to their publicists like Tucker Carlson. No to those who champion them. No to demoralization. No to bigotry and anti-meritocratic horse shit. No to anti-Americanism. No. This is our country. This is our party. And this is our conservative movement. And I will not stand by while it is handed over to those who betray the most fundamental principles I have spent my entire life defending and advocating. That is a path to defeat and a path to moral oblivion. I reject it because if we lose the right, we will lose to the left. And either way, we'll lose the country.
All right, so Carlson has declared an ideological war, not just on Fuentes, but Carlson, I'm sorry. Ben Shapiro has declared an ideological war, not just on Fuentes, but on Tucker Carlson. And a lot of people came out. And then Kevin Roberts at the Heritage Foundation defended Carlson. It's blown up. Some people have claimed that's part of the reason why the Republicans lost. I don't think that's maybe in a very, very tight election. You can say that none of these elections were all that tight. I don't know how big a deal it is, but this furthers my point about Tucker Carlson that I've said, not just about him, but the environment we're in. The key is to provoke, to get your name to be talked about so that people are playing your clips. It doesn't matter if they're criticizing you, defending you, and it doesn't matter how much hate you get because it's all about engagement. So if you have tons of people commenting about you and 90% of them are saying negative things and 10% are saying positive things, that's still good because a lot of people are talking about you. And that's how your video travels all around the world. When Edward R. Murrow was dominating the airwaves, there was no clips on social media. So if you said something controversial, people would talk about it, but your name would just be talked about without the benefit of the mass marketing that you get with social media. So I think Tucker Carlson's strategy is to constantly put himself in the news, regardless of how he gets in the news. And Candace Owens is the same way. That's why she claims that Emmanuel Macron's wife is a trans. That's why she claims that some sort of a conspiracy killed Charlie Kirk. She keeps changing who the conspiracy is. Doesn't matter because it gets her in the news. It gets her talked about. Clips of her show gets played, and that's all that matters. And what it does to society, everybody hates politics. They hate social media, and yet everybody's involved in politics and social media. But this is what you hate about it.
The word that we have to apply and the term we have to apply here is something called hyperreality. And that's the lens we have to look at all of this through, Mike, I think. Hyperreality is basically simulation replacing reality, right? You have to look at this. And so you have to look at Nick Fuentes and say, this guy is not for real. He's a manufactured digital spectacle, right? Mm-hmm. He's probably the greatest example we have today of that. Candace Owens is another. Andrew Tate's another. And very quickly, the former journalist Tucker Carlson is falling down that same rabbit hole. It's hyper reality. You're not looking for something that is real. You're looking for something that's hyper real. All right. And so the problem becomes there's no coherent ideology behind hyperreality. The only ideology, only driving force is spectacle. It is a spectacle. You're trying to find meaning from a circus. You're trying to find meaning from the lion tamer and the whip and the bears on roller skates and the tigers dancing around. This is P.T. Barnum at its finest. But P.T. Barnum was not a political philosopher, and neither are these people. And they're not news people either.
I want to play another part. This is from Ben's, like the full one, because he's going to play a few things that he plays throughout, but he's going to play a few things that Fuentes said, and then I'll point out.
You came away thinking that, for the most part, Fuentes lives on the radical edge of normality. You think that if you watch the interview, because Tucker Carlson decided that it was important not only to host Fuentes, but to smooth over his views, water them down, and make them far more palatable to a normal audience. As we'll discuss in a bit, this is what Tucker Carlson does for a living. But back to Nick Fuentes. To understand just what Tucker did here, we must actually examine what Nick Fuentes says on his show, and has said for almost a decade, because he was asked precisely 0 questions about any of what you're about to see by Tucker Carlson. Nick Fuentes says women want to be raped.
A lot of women want to be raped. And when I say raped, I mean like, that sounds bad when I say it like that. But there's like a lot of women that really want a guy to beat the shit out of them. But also they have to pretend, but part of it is they have to pretend like they don't.
Nick Fuentes says that his followers should kill, rape, and die in his name.
Raise your right hand. All right, everybody raise your right hand. Raise your right hand. Repeat after me. I will kill, rape, and die for Nicholas J. Fuentes.
Nick Fuentes says that women are whores who shouldn't be in politics.
I will continue my crusade against women in politics. Because it's always like this, and it's so ironic. Women are like, I don't like, when you say, you have to affect the face. When you say to repeal the 19th Amendment, that offends me. That hurts my feelings. It's like, have you ever stopped and considered that maybe if you get offended, there's such a strong emotional reaction to political opinions you disagree with across the board? Maybe that's one of the reasons why you shouldn't be making political decisions. I'm not attacking women. I'm attacking whores. You have no problems, right? I'm attacking whores. I'm attacking sluts, stupid, dirty bitches.
Nick Fuentes.
Right, so there's a lot of that. None of this Tucker asked him about. He, you saw the conversation. He's like, take me back. And it's like anti-Ben Shapiro. Ben, first of all, do you think, like, if you accuse a Jew of dual loyalty, that you have loyalty to Israel and America, is that anti-Semitic, or is that a legitimate criticism?
Listen, they're going to do the same thing in 2028 when J.D. Vance runs for the presidency because he's a Roman Catholic. They didn't do it to Joe Biden, but they did it to Jack Kennedy. It is a political tool that's used. If you're a Jew, if you're a Catholic, if you're anything, they're going to say, "Oh, you're taking orders."
I think you're saying that it is. I think you're saying it is. Would you agree that when they did it to JFK, that was anti-Catholic?
Look, they're going to do it to Mamdani for the next year too. That he's taken his
that is anti-Islam, and you see
it happens. This is something that happens in politics. But it's not the way that Nick Fuentes says it. It's not like that. But it is what it is. Like they put it out there in politics. It's as old as time. It's a way to attack somebody on their religion, but not attacking them on their religion. Come on. Politics.
Right. All right. So, any other thoughts about Nick Fuentes? And then we'll move on to the next topic.
It's all sensationalized bullshit, Mike. At the end of the day, if you want to tune in for politicized entertainment that's loosely moored to reality, it has some context in reality, but it's not real. Then watch Nick Fuentes all day long. It pollutes your mind.
Right.
Go ahead.
All right. So next, a couple of weeks ago, I went into Evanston, Illinois, just north of Chicago, and I said there are no anti-ICE signs. Now, I want to point out that was October 27th. Only like 2 or 3 days later, here's some of the nice photos that you see. That's pretty nice. It's a lovely suburb. There were no anti-ICE signs. And you know what happened within a couple of days of me going to Evanston, Illinois?
Oh, it all started, Michael. I think that the radical left that are monitoring your Substack page
Right.
took that out of the playbook and it said we have to ruin this beautiful.
All right. So I want to point out a few others. So this is I found this is an Evanston. I don't know if they got a newspaper too, but it's definitely a website like for residents of like a newspaper website for residents of Evanston, and the ICE people, and let's watch it.
What's your name? Okay. Hands up, don't shoot. Hands up, don't shoot. Hey! Shame! I'm moving. I'm moving. There appear to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, at least 5 officers.
Right.
Just says police.
The caption says a video taken at 12:20 p.m. Friday shows residents confronting federal agents after a vehicle crash. Now, I've noticed something. We played another one in Chicago of a vehicle crash. The ICE crashes their vehicle into a citizen's vehicle. And do you know what the spokesperson for DHS says every time one of these crashes occur?
What?
They say that the citizen, whoever the citizen is, they crashed into the ICE car on purpose. Now I can believe here on X, formerly known as Twitter, a Department of Homeland Security released a statement claiming that we're being aggressively tailgated by a red vehicle as agents tried to make the red car crashed into Border Patrol. I can believe that could happen once or twice. There are probably almost a dozen of these crashes, and every time the story from ICE is that some citizen, a random citizen, decided to crash into them. This story, they grabbed 3 U.S. citizens. They drove them to the FBI office in Chicago. They held them for a couple hours and then let them go. One lady said that while she was in the vehicle, that they tried to crash into other vehicles. That's what she said. And that she lost a shoe. They wouldn't even give her a shoe. That after they released her, she was on only one shoe. This doesn't just look bad. This is bad. What's happening with ICE? They are thugs. There's no other way to describe it. And if you don't think that's going to be an electoral issue, you are wrong. Trump made up a lot of distance with Hispanics, and Republicans will lose most of that distance. It's going to go back to about 66-33 again, because this is just thug behavior.
Michael, what about the attempted vehicular assaults, vehicular homicides that are part and parcel here? The fact of the matter is these ICE vehicles are clearly labeled. They know what they are because they're being tailgated and everything else. If you are someone who's just a citizen and you see these ICE vehicles go by, get out of the way. Get out of the way. Don't go near the vehicle.
That's what you said. As I said,
pull over. Wait a minute for it to go by. But you're there to tailgate because it's part of an assault. It's a coordinated vehicular assault on government operations.
That citizens randomly. Here's another one. Here's another one. Here's another one.
Hit and run! Hit and run! That's a hit and run! Hit and run! Hit and run! That's a hit and run! Hit and run! Hit and run! Look, hey, watch out with that weapon! That weapon! Yo, watch out! What's wrong with you? You hit it! You hit her! Yo! What's wrong? You hit her! You hit her! You guys hit her! You guys hit her! What's wrong with y'all? Y'all bust a whole U-turn in the middle of the street!
That's a U.S. citizen they're about to rip out of her.
You're on camera. Leave her alone.
They're going to rip her out.
She's trying to go to work. She's trying to go to work. No, what? Crazy shit. Y'all some crazy. Y'all got no heart, for real. No heart.
That's a
No
U.S.
heart.
citizen. And they held her, and then they released her. And there's about a dozen of these incidents. And every time it's your story. And I don't believe that a whole bunch of random citizens are doing that. I don't believe that for 1 second. This is ICE being the aggressor.
Behind the camera, Mike. You have a paid agitator behind the camera. If I
yeah,
was
you got a paid agitator. Yeah. No, you're right.
Agitators, Mike.
The guy just happened to start filming, and he knew that he was a paid agitator. You're right. Yeah, you guys just don't.
They go and they start vehicles.
Our
Camera.
There's some. I
understand.
Neighborhood. Fuck ICE. And I think that is apt. Fuck ICE. These guys are thugs. They're acting like thugs, and it is going to become an electoral issue. And outside of MAGA, nobody thinks this is a good idea to act this way. That lady wasn't doing anything. She was driving to a coffee shop before she was going to work. They crashed into her. And even if she crashed into them, the punishment for a reckless driving is not to be ripped out of your car and driven to FBI headquarters. If you want to stop, wait for the cops, give her a ticket, that's one thing.
But next time, maybe she won't be in league with the paid agitators. That's
right.
All.
She won't be in league with the paid agitators. She was going to a coffee shop. She wasn't doing anything.
That's what she says, but the proof of the is in the pudding.
Yeah, the proof is that they clipped her, and then they stopped their car, got out, put guns to her head.
They didn't show that they clipped her. They showed that she got in the way of the car. She might have been part of the whole scam. I don't know what's going on here. Neither do you.
I know what's going on. These guys are thugs. They don't have any rules of engagement.
The thugs are the ones with the cameras, and they're using cars for
the thugs are the ones filming it. Ridiculous.
Yeah, so you just happen to have a camera every friggin' time. Like, come on.
Yeah. There's cameras everywhere. Give me a break.
Paid agitators.
Of course, there's cameras everywhere. Now, we could have done this as part of the election roundup. I want to give a little shout out. Tara Palmieri has an excellent Substack. She worked for Politico, some other spots. She interviewed the liberal congressional candidate. I'll never pronounce her name. And the lady got off the interview after a couple of questions. She was charged with and I can't remember, she's running for Jan Schakowsky's seat. Jan Schakowsky is a long-term congresswoman. She's retiring, so she's running for her seat. It looks like that lady was part of a crew that surrounded an ICE vehicle and may have even written pig on it. Somebody wrote pig on the vehicle. But anyway, so Tara did an article, and she's saying Democrats think maybe we'll be done with the shutdown in the end of November. Republicans think maybe it'll be the early December. We are currently at day 36, which is a record already. Obviously, that's going to make Trump go POTUS when we look back in 60 years that he oversaw the longest shutdown in history. Am I right? It's definitely a shining example of his governing philosophy.
I think it's actually an excellent thing. What's going to happen is what's happening with Snap and everything else. He's going to purge the Snap rolls because they already put stuff in the one big beautiful bill, and now this, where the money's not going to be flowing easily and regularly, it's going to make everybody have to reapply, and the people who really need it are going to get Snap, and not the ones who are mooching. So that's a good. That's a good positive.
You think, and there's about 41 or 42 million people on Snap. So that's about 1 in 8 people. Why do you think so many people are on Snap? And that's
because Biden made it very easy to get, and Obama before made it very easy to get Snap.
I think Obama.
Michael, do you know who's on Snap? Christopher Ambrose.
Right. People have been on Snap.
$1 million shore house in Connecticut on Snap. There are plenty of other examples of people with $1 million or with lots and lots of money who are on Snap, because all you got to do is go down and apply for it at the welfare office. Well, you don't have to go to the welfare, like that was years ago. Now you just got to go online and you can get Snap. So you have to purge the rolls. This is one way to do it. It's probably not the best way to do it, but it's a good way to do it. There are probably more optimal ways to do it. But when you have Democrats and blue states that aren't going to participate and they're going to villainize and vilify, then this is a good way to do it. I think it's the best way that Trump has possible. He's going to save the government a lot of money and get rid of the freeloaders. He's already taking care of the women and children. He's making sure the women and children have access to formula and medication. Okay.
All right, so USDA estimated about 10.5 billion or 11% of SNAP benefits were improperly paid. So there is some fraud in SNAP. So he's going to save the country 10 billion. Of course, he's spending 7 trillion, but it is good to save up.
He's got tariffs. He's collecting
tariffs. Record tariffs. Tariffs aren't going to pay for anything. We're headed towards 40 trillion. We might be at 45 trillion dollars in debt before Trump gets out of office. Tariffs, ridiculous. All right. So that's the end of the current events segment. Next, we talk about what the hails. This may get up on YouTube, but it won't be on my YouTube channel because I don't have a YouTube channel. I just wanted to read the last thing that I got from YouTube. Here we go. Hello, Michael. I hope you're having a great week. Somebody taught him that for customer service sake. Thank you for writing back. I understand you believe that all your content falls under educational, documentary, scientific, and artistic content exception. As shared previously, explicit content that's meant to be sexually gratifying isn't allowed on YouTube. We make limited exceptions for content with those contexts. Content that falls under those exceptions refers to material that might otherwise contain themes considered age inappropriate or violative, but is presented with one of these specific contexts. For your complete guide, I understand your frustration on this. However, we've already exhausted all the information that better explains the situation. There's nothing more I can add at this stage. This is all they give me, and then they keep saying, we've given you everything. They won't say, so they banned my channel for sex, nude, and you saw something sexually gratifying. Have we made anything in this current video that would be considered sexually gratifying?
Not unless you're a sicko. No.
How about if you're a YouTube censor? Maybe if you're a YouTube censor. Now,
yeah, they might be sickos, Mike. They probably sickos.
They might be sickos. Now, last week. Now, here's the funny thing. So, because they won't say which video or videos, and it should be videos because according to their terms of service, if you do it once, they give you a warning. And in fact, you're supposed to do it 3 times in 90 days before you're banned. So I got banned. I went to sleep one night. I had a completely clean YouTube channel. I woke up and it was taken off the air for sexual nudity and sexual content. I think that's what they call it. They won't say which videos, and that is actually part and parcel for the way that YouTube operates. They won't say. It was definitely Hales and his crew that did it. And I think what their strategy is to report like 12, 2 dozen videos all at once, because if you can get 3 strikes at once, then you can get the channel removed before the person has a chance to try to make things right. That's basically the way it goes. Now, you would think if you were YouTube and I had no strikes and they find 3 videos that are objectionable, they would say, well, he didn't realize they were objectionable, and you give the person a chance to redeem themselves. But that's not how they operate at all. So they've removed the channel. I don't think they're gonna bring it back unless folks write in, and you should, if you want my channel back, say that that you miss my channel. That it had a positive effect. Now, the main problem for me is that the Zoom conference from the Garden at Lightham from St. Louis County was on my YouTube channel, and I may be able to find the actual file. But if I don't find the file, I think it might be up in other places. I know there's a video that highlights it, but that's gone. So that's really the big problem for me, is that video is gone.
Mike, they're violating their own policy because what are you, Michael? You're a journalist, correct?
Right. Mm-hmm.
And what do journalists do? They document important events and different cultural occurrences and newsworthy items, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And that Zoom conference was a newsworthy item, correct?
I don't think they're considering that news conference to violate it, though. But hold on.
No, but the fact is, they're violating.
All right. Who wrote this article?
Melonhead Megan Fox.
Melonhead Megan Fox. That is not the extra singer Megan Fox. That is the former journalist, current content creator Megan Fox. This is an article that she did based on the St. Louis Family Court Zoom conference. And wait, hold on. If you go down to the bottom, video unavailable is no longer because the YouTube account with this video has been terminated. So she did it to herself and removed the video. I don't know if she did it, but she certainly is cheering it. She's cheering this.
Michael.
I'm sorry?
She's part of the conspiracy. The criminal Muppet cult. She's part of that criminal conspiracy. It's a racketeer influence corrupt organization.
At a minimum, she thinks it's great. I don't know if she made complaint.
Corrupt organization, I believe those Muppets are. That's
right.
A terrible.
Right. I don't know if it's the legal definition of RICO, but they're definitely
using interstate commerce, and they're engaged in harassment, and they're engaged in extortion, they're engaged in intimidation, they're engaged in at least 2 or 3 crimes using interstate commerce.
Cyber stalking. Cyber stalking. I know
they're making false reports to state and federal agencies. They're doing all sorts of different things that are crimes. Right. Starting with harassment, but stemming from there, different species of harassment that converge into federal crimes.
All right, so there are several videos like that that are now gone in articles that she wrote. She basically wants to sever herself from her past, which is a little weird, but the videos that have the articles that have the videos that I had that she wrote, all those videos are gone. Here's another one. So there's Megan Fox again. Missouri judge sends 14-year-old girl to live with allegedly abusive dad while jailing her mom. Now, this is based on an audio recording that was turned into a video. And I think there it is. There's the video. It's gone because that channel has been terminated. That's my channel. There are a lot of my videos that she used to use that are now like this.
Maybe we should call up PJ Media, Mike, and ask them to remove these dead link articles.
Right.
That might be a fun one, right?
Right. Or let them know that she was a part of this. And how did they feel about her old articles, which still get like a handful of hits probably per day.
If they have dead links, it's bad journalism to have dead links. Let's get rid of them.
Right. Yeah, they have videos that are no longer around. So, if somebody goes to it, she quotes from the video, but you can't listen to it. And I don't know why she would think that helps her, but, what are you going to do? All right. Anything else you wanted to add?
I think that you need to sue. I've said it before. I'm going to say it again. Sue, sue, sue. Like fight, fight, fight. Sue, sue, sue. And that's the only way you're going to get these people at the table. And then you're going to have these lawyers for YouTube come in and they say, what are you suing us for? And they say, well, you violated your own this, you did that, you did the other thing. And they're going to say, okay, well, if we restore your channel, that's what's going to happen, Mike. You might not even get into court. You might have to go to court once, but you can make some content out of it. And I'd sue Neil Mohan personally, the YouTube CEO. Just have fun with it.
Don't you think that that YouTube has had a lawsuit like this before? Don't you think that they have
plenty, but they have plenty more in the sense that they did the mathematical calculation that will deal with the people if they sue. Most people don't sue, and we win. If they sue, we're probably going to lose, so we might as well just buy them off right away. So put it in suit.
That's what you think it is. All right. As part of the What the Hales segment, we look at the many lawsuits that surround it, because the whole idea for Jeremy Hales is to create endless litigation every which way that he can comment on, that his viewers, that's what I should say, seem to have an endless, insatiable appetite for, though I don't think it's endless or insatiable. But a relatively new lawsuit has been brought by Bruce Matzkin. For those who don't follow, who is Bruce Matzkin? He represented John Cook and Michelle Preston until somewhat recently. Who are John Cook and Michelle Preston? They are kind of Jeremy Hale's neighbors. They really live like a couple blocks away from him, but we'll call him his neighbors. When he lives in Florida in the town of Otter Creek, he's sued them many times. He's taken them to court for a protective order somehow that he got under the Violence Against Women Act. He is a man. But Matzkin is suing Larry Foreman. He goes by the DUI guy because he does a lot of DUI. He's an attorney in Louisville, Kentucky, because Foreman claimed that Matzkin was going to be disbarred for something relatively minor, that Matzkin was going to flee to Armenia because it was so major, and some other things. And his attorney, so Foreman filed a motion to dismiss under anti-SLAPP, that is the strategic lawsuit against public participation. So when you file under that, you are saying that the other person has brought this lawsuit without merit to chill your free speech, so it should be removed immediately. And I don't know if this is the response to that, but this is a response motion. And what Matzkin, through his lawyer, Ben Potash, is saying is that the videos that Foreman made were actually advertisements for his law firm, because he constantly talked about the law firm. And then he put their contact information on the bottom, the logo, all of that. And as a result, your duty to be accurate is much more narrow, because you don't have a free speech right to lie in an advertisement. An advertisement is not a form of free speech. So what do you think of that argument? And do you think that Foreman plugging his law firm, putting their logo in the bottom, saying "call me," is that enough? If he says that a couple of times in a 30-minute video, would that be considered an advertisement?
I think that this is smacking upon commercial speech, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is not pure free speech. Free speech has its purest form in pure political activity, right? And when you're talking about issues of government concern, you have a lesser right to commercial speech because there's greater regulation. One of the big regulators out there is the bar. The attorneys are regulated in their commercial speech by the rules of professional conduct, specifically Rule, I believe, 7.1, 7.2, and 7.3. And it looks like Foreman is violating the rules of professional conduct in his commercial speech, where he gets very, very close in that his actions are deceptive. And the rules of professional conduct make it very clear that you cannot have deceptive statements in there. You can't talk about expertise that you have that you really don't. You can't even talk about certain things. There's a whole it's a large litany of things you cannot say when you're an attorney engaged in advertising. Additionally, the claims that he's making or he made are not part of the trial publicity type statements that you could make as a lawyer. I think it's under Rule 3.3 or 3.4, where they talk about what you can say. You can talk about the claims made in the case. You could talk about defenses. You could talk about the status of litigation. Well, if there's no litigation, he doesn't have any right to go out there if he's going to make himself as a commercial, as a lawyer.
Now,
he's got his lawyer hat on for all purposes, Michael. So he's got to be cabin.
Hold on. Now, there is litigation in that Foreman, I believe he was making this argument, argues that he is commenting on the lawsuits that Matzkin was involved in as an attorney. So he has a perfect right to analyze, even critically, Bruce Matzkin. He has the right to say he's a chump lawyer. Does he not have the right to say, I think...
do that, except for if he's advertising as a lawyer, because you understand the lawyers have a candor and to third parties. They have to treat everybody with respect. So Foreman could go on a YouTube channel as Larry Foreman, and say racist things, bigoted things, sexist things, homosexually offensive things. He can say that all he wants as a private citizen. The second he puts the ESQ, the second he puts his lawyer hat on there, it's there for all purposes. He has to treat all people at a certain level if he's going to be connected as a lawyer. Even though he is a lawyer,
does he
inject himself there, it becomes a problem.
Does he then have a problem with this part of the of the motion. Matskin, quote, used to live in Connecticut. Then he tried to scam a bunch of people there. Probably. I don't know. I have no evidence of that.
That's terrible.
Does that sound
That's
like
terrible.
a problematic? That's terrible for him?
That's terrible for Foreman because
okay, but if I'm Foreman, and I think he actually is making this argument, scam right here. You know, that's very vague. That's an opinion-based comment.
But he's imputing his expertise as a lawyer, and the regular viewer doesn't know whether he's saying this as a commentator like you and me, or as a lawyer in his learned legal opinion, because he's making advertisements for his law firm at the same time, and doesn't put a very clear disclaimer that this is all commentary and not to be taken seriously for legal purposes. So he's got a problem. The onus is on Larry Foreman to make it clear to the public audience, to protect the public, what he's saying. And he didn't do that. The devil's in the details, and lawyers are held to the higher standard.
All right. We're going to see how the judge responds. Now, there's one other important legal term, false light. So what this motion argues is, first, that we believe that there was defamation, that there were factually not correct statements that were made deliberately. But if you don't agree with us, he was also painted in a false light. How is false light as a legal term different than defamation? And does Foreman have any liability on that argument?
Well, yeah, I think it's a stronger potential liability here because he relies upon his status as an attorney and his law licensure and his practice and advertising his law practice in making these statements. Because if Joe Blow on the street says X compared to a lawyer or somebody that's a trusted professional like a doctor or an architect, you know, if I'm looking up at a structure, I say, man, that building's going to fall down. You know, I'm just some schmuck making an opinion. But if Frank Lloyd Wright looks up and says that building's going to fall down, it gets closer to false light. Okay, that's the analogy here with Foreman talking about another attorney's work.
So do you think this is a problem then? And I'll explain who all these people are. He scammed Scott Stark. He scammed Lynette. He scammed John. He scammed Dave Helm. He scammed a lot of people. Scott Stark is an attorney that Bruce recruited, I guess you could say. But Stark represented Lynette, who is Michelle Preston. Lynette I think is her middle name. John is John Cook, in a lawsuit that they filed, and then Stark was already ill, and he's passed away since then. He got so sick that they had to withdraw the lawsuit, and so he doesn't really, Foreman, that is, explain how he scammed Scott Starks. Dave Helm is an attorney being sued by Jeremy Hales, who was commenting on some of his videos, and now he's being sued. He doesn't say how he scammed these people. He doesn't provide evidence of how he scammed these people. Is that an example of false light?
I would say so, because the implication is that this man with expertise as an attorney who knows what a scam is, who knows what both for crime and for a tort, a civil wrong type scam would be, a fraud, right? Is saying that this rises to the level of a fraud. So he's basically saying that it's a fraud, using his attorney credentials to back it up.
Okay, now, if you were representing Larry Foreman, in responding to this, would you need to provide any evidence of how he scammed these people to say that this is not false light? Here's how he scammed Scott Stark. If you're representing
Foreman,
yeah,
if I was defending Foreman, here's how it would go. Number one, I have no obligation to say anything more than I'm saying. I'm talking in my capacity as a private person. And it's clear to any viewer that I'm talking in a commentary capacity, not in a capacity as an attorney. That's number one. Number two, to the extent that it's believed that I'm not, I have a good faith basis for everything I say, and here's my good faith basis. And he would give the evidence, the documents, the emails, the statements, and that's it. That's what the defense is. That's the only defense that Foreman can give.
All right, so you would expect that that when Foreman, and I think Foreman does get to respond to this, when Foreman responds, he's going to get a little deep into the weeds about how he thinks that he scammed Scott Stark, how he thinks that he scammed Lynette and John and all of those
There's
folks.
two prongs of a defense. One is a legal defense, one's a factual defense. The legal defense is, like I said, I was talking in the capacity of commentary and fully protected under commercial speech, under any type of speech there, to say those things. Number one, and it's clear to anybody who sees it that was the context. Just because my law firm was there, it's incidental to everything. It doesn't create a situation. Everybody knows this. They tune in for commentary. Number two, the factual basis I have, it makes the prima facie case for a good faith defense, meaning that anybody can speak on a matter and report on a matter and make commentary on a matter, and especially cannot be taken as fact because it's an opinion, or even if they may take it as a fact, that you have a good faith basis to talk about it. So he should show facts that give a good faith basis that refute every one of Maskin's claims. Emails, statements, filed court documents, anything like that. He should be.
I don't think he's gonna have a good faith basis to say he scammed Lynette Preston or John Cook or even Scott Stark. He encouraged Stark to take the case. Stark was an adult; he didn't have to take the case. I think he asked Helm to cover the Hales case. What's the good faith basis that he scammed someone?
With the good faith basis that he scammed, I don't know. That's the
right. All right,
that is the $64,000 question, Michael. We'll find this out soon enough, right?
All right. Now, what about if you put your logo in the bottom and it's just sitting there the whole time? That does seem like that's an advertisement. I mean, if you've got Foreman Legal Group 6666, the phone number, and it's just sitting there, that seems to be an advertisement. I mean, you're obviously
I think Foreman's in trouble.
People to call you.
Mike. You're right. I think Judge Volpe is correct. Foreman is in trouble.
Right. All right. Okay. And one more thing about that lawsuit, Maskin, through his attorney, asked for limited discovery. So if that motion is granted, that could be a nuclear bomb. And do you know who he asked for limited discovery of?
Who?
He asked for limited discovery of Foreman and all of the YouTubers that are affiliated with Jeremy Hales. So that would be Hales, Tug, that umbrella guy, Megan Fox from Megan Fox Investigates, my former friend, Shizzy, and anybody else he can think of. If the judge grants him this motion, you guys had a lot of fun with discovery, you Hales people. Guess what? You may be on the receiving end, and we're going to find out a whole bunch of stuff about what you've been doing. Now, as part of the What the Hales segment, we talk about another guy. His name is Danesh Noshirvan, and the reason we talk about him is because they both have a very significant social media presence. They are both internet agitators. They both love court. When I say they both love court, the reason I say that is they're in court a lot. You're not in court that much if you don't love it. They both have scumbag attorneys that seem to do their legal bidding. Danesh Noshirvan, his scumbag attorney is Nick Chiappetta. Jeremy Hales, his scumbag attorney is Randall Shockett. And so this is the Frank Report. If you don't know the Frank Report, you should. It's run by Frank Parlato. Better friends with you. Both of our friends. We've both been published on there. We've worked with Frank. He broke Nexum NXIVM. If you go back to the original articles from the New York Times, you'll see him referenced. Frank was writing about him for a while. Finally, the New York Times picked up on it. Those people who are in jail in part because of the work that Frank did. And he's done a lot of other things, but that's the first thing you think of. But he's been looking at Danesh, and there were some interesting text messages between Danesh and another guy. Who is the other guy?
His name is James McGibney.
That's this guy right here. Right.
Yeah, he has a website of bullyville.com, and he has an A&E TV show called Bully Hunter. They just did the pilot.
Before you go on, and this is Danesh. Would you consider Danesh a bully?
Oh, yes. He's a bully.
Do you think it's ironic that this guy who goes after bullies is friends with Danesh, who himself is a bully?
Well, that is what the whole import of Frank's piece here is. It's kind of about the irony of who's judging who. Because these guys come and say that they're going to come and take care of the bullies. And they're their own, private justice system that is kind of unmoored from anything we would think of that's justice. Like, Michael, you know that if you go to a courthouse, you have judges there that have some type of qualifications. You know that they're not totally, despicable people. Some of them are and fall through the cracks, and we have to fight them.
But they do have qualifications. They didn't walk in off the street and get on the bench, and no one noticed that they just showed up.
And that's kind of how it is on social media, Michael, with guys like McGibney and guys like Danesh. And so they have a partnership that this is part of the court record in a case in Fort Myers that's called Couture versus Noshirvan. And the last three are 340. It's from, I think, 2022. Now,
you've talked about that case, but explain the details of the dispute again.
So what happened was in 2022, Jennifer Couture, who's a mom and a businesswoman from Fort Myers, Florida, got in a parking lot altercation with another woman named Angelique Reed in Dunkin' Donuts in Fort Myers. And the video went viral. Angelique Reed was one of these.
The video went viral because Danesh put it up online.
The video went up because Danesh, who has close to 3 million followers online, is a mega influencer, and his entire brand is accountability, content. Meaning that back in the COVID era, he was the mask police. So if you didn't have your mask on and you had any type of important role, if you worked at a hospital, if you were a public official, he would get a picture or a video of you without your mask on, and then he'd have people mask report you and try to get you fired for not having your mask on. And it snowballed from there where he's
cancel culture.
He's cancel culture, yeah.
So the way the right now uses it, even though they abhorred it, if you say anything negative about Charlie Kirk, you definitely have to have your life destroyed now by the right. It's kind of the same thing. Right. But that's an aside. All right, go on. So what happened with Jennifer Couture? What happened with Jennifer Couture?
Canceled by Dinesh's cancel culture mob because of this
edited video. If she got into an altercation and she was the aggressor, maybe she should have been canceled.
She wasn't the aggressor. Actually, Angelique Reed, they didn't show the full video. She almost T-boned Jennifer Couture with her teenage daughter in the car. Angelique Reed, who's known to smoke marijuana while she drives. Angelique Reed was basically got out of the car and harassing and everything else. So it was a big problem. Both sides weren't shown, selectively edited, and it was a real narrative to try to go after the quote unquote rich white woman as opposed to present all the facts.
For those who don't understand how these things explode, if it was shown out of context, how come it explodes and goes viral? If what you're watching isn't reality, how does that go viral?
The same way that like Nick Fuentes goes viral. People have an appetite for this illusion. And it's a bit of Schadenfreude, it's a bit of it's not me, so we're gonna have a lot of fun watching somebody else be miserable.
Would you also say that Miss Couture, being wealthy and successful and driving a nice car, presents as an easy target for cancel culture?
Hardworking businesswoman. She's worked for everything she has. It's not that she's quote unquote wealthy. It's just you have a lot of these TikTok wokesters that are brokesters at the same time, and so it's easy to blame the rich, even though she's not quote unquote rich. She works.
She's not poor, and she had a nice car in the video. Am I right?
She's not poor. She had a very nice car, but she's not like billionaire wealthy.
Right. No, I understand. So, but people see that, and they, I should be driving that car. I figure people with cars that nice are usually mean like this, and so they
trying to cancel like Cruella de Vil.
Right. So he sort of canceled. He didn't really cancel her, but he definitely harassed her through this video. So what? She sued.
She sued, and then
it's not. It's definitely not illegal to present a video out of context. What is it? Tortious? What is she saying that the court should decide? Because she's not saying that he doctored the video. She's not saying that he put words in her mouth that weren't there, right?
Yeah, it's not. And her claim isn't even the best claim. The claim is the better claims are for her husband and her husband, who's a plastic surgeon, his plastic surgery practice, and on behalf of other business interests that the Dinesh's followers and Dinesh himself through AI and through dishonest means attacked. They created a huge synthetic mass outrage campaign, and they made it, they what's called tortiously or harmfully interfered with their business, costing them hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars of revenue, based on lies and based on harassment and based on crimes. Okay, so that's the issue that we have here.
All right, so now let's get to these text messages. First of all, if that is the substance of the dispute, how do text messages between this guy McGibney, who wasn't involved in this particular case, and Danesh, how did they even wind up in the lawsuit?
McGibney and Danesh, this is after the altercation occurred. They're talking in this about how they're going to try to set up Jennifer Couture.
Oh, so McGibney, now did McGibney actually involve, are there any videos made by McGibney about this thing or no?
Oh yeah, McGibney makes videos and content on Bullyville.
No, about this incident, or he just makes
about
videos?
Couture, about a guy named Joey Camp. And Joey
right.
Camp is actually a journalist. He actually filmed Antifa back in 2020 and 2021.
Joey Camp, who lives not in the U.S., somewhere in another country.
Not anymore. He had to leave the U.S., but he's an international bounty by Antifa placed upon him.
Right. He did a lot of undercover type videos of Antifa. I don't know if undercover is the he
go and dress up with the black mask, take pictures of people, go back and identify them.
And undercover, that's what James O'Keefe does. My favorite journalist, Nellie Bly, that was her thing. It was before videos were made, so they weren't undercover videos, but it's not just legitimate. I think when you're undercover, you are, as a journalist, operating at an extremely high level. It's very difficult. Most people can't pull it off.
Very dangerous.
Right, and it's dangerous. If you are caught, Bly was in an insane asylum. And I think if she was caught before they grabbed her, they probably would have thrown her in another insane asylum and moved her until no one found her, and she would have died, so she couldn't tell her story. So it's an extremely dangerous operation that she did. And certainly if Camp was found out, who knows what would have happened to him. But how is Camp involved in this Couture thing?
So they're talking here a lot about Camp because they both, McGibney's trying to curry favor with Danesh because Danesh has all the influences on social media. And McGibney has the sites, Bullyville and some of these other things. And he's trying to expand the social media. So they're doing a media partnership. They have their media partners at this point. And McGibney and both McGibney and Danesh have a problem with Joey Camp. So they are bonding over their mutual hatred for Joey Camp, which shows a little bit like their Antifa relationship, or they're in the same league of the people that cannot stand Joey Camp, and they're all Antifa or paid agitators. They're in that same camp.
All right, now there's a lot of double entendres.
It's homoerotic, Mike. It's homoerotic.
So like this, little LOL for McGibney. You are the very first person I followed on TikTok. You were my first, Danesh. You took my TikTok virginity. Love you. Do you have Venmo? And then hashtag Cox. Now this hashtag Cox kept coming up. Why? Do you have any idea why hashtag Cox kept
These guys are infatuated with Cox. They love the male penis.
Now Danesh is married.
So is McGibney.
Okay. All right.
Oh, family man, they claim.
Right. Okay.
All right. Now we have to 69. It's tradition.
Right. All right. Yeah, now we have to 69. It's tradition right there. So this seems like suggestive of a gay infatuation between the two of them. Am I right?
Go back. Go to the next one we give me. After target practice. Read that one.
I love watching your stories. You're fucking brilliant, bro. Just stop trying to touch my penis. What's that about? But by the way, hold on. If this is on YouTube, would this get banned?
Yeah.
Would YouTube consider that like sexually explicit? Would we have to remove that?
We're just documenting it here under the EDSA policy for YouTube.
Right. It's not, this is. I won't get back into that, but that if I knew which videos they had a problem with, I would be able to explain how it doesn't violate their policy, but they won't.
Read the one coming under there. I had someone email me yesterday.
I had someone email me yesterday asking why I was friends with a bully. They were referring to you. Here was my response, quote, I consider Danesh much more than a friend. He's going to be my lover one day. I haven't received this response yet. LOL. Ha ha, push bullies back. The only thing they respond to.
Bullybill.com. He knows Danesh is a bully and he partners with him. It just goes to show, it's like, what the heck is going on here with these people? This is what you have in cancel culture. You got maniacs.
You know what?
The show.
So let me draw some metaphors. I think I'm using this right. In this story, this guy McGibney, James McGibney is the equivalent of Megan Fox. In an attempt to increase his viewership, he's willing to lose all of his principles. Being an anti-bully crusader, he gets in with the bully. It's the same thing with Megan. This guy Hales calls CPS whenever she was against all of that. He cancels people. She was against all of that. Everything that Hales stands for, she used to be against, and it sounds like McGibney is similar. Am I wrong about that? Is that a good comparison?
It's very, very good comparison. I think that's Parlato's point in the article. It's like, who are these people? You know, what principles do they really have? At least in the real justice system, we kind of know they go before either the legislature, or they go before the governor, or they go before a qualifications board, and we know who these people are that are judges in the real justice system. But in this internet mob cancel culture system,
now,
who are these people?
Let's talk about that for a minute. Isn't that the point of the internet, that you take the good and the bad with that, but that the good outweighs the bad, that the internet is the Wild West, that there are no rules, that it's free, that it's for everyone, unless you're on YouTube, and then there's a whole bunch of rules. But
that's the point, Mike. That's the point. Unless you're a mega influencer. And who are these mega influencers? How did they become mega influencers? How does Danesh have this almost 3 million following that he puts stuff out? He gets tens of thousands of views. Jeremy Hales gets tens of thousands of views. And they have account managers at YouTube and at Meta, and they're making money with the outlets that they have, that they're claiming Section 230 immunity, but they're really not immune because they're preferred vendors. So it's not free speech, and it's not the good with the bad, like you say. This is a economically driven situation that is impeding upon free speech, and it's skewing the public's right.
What do you mean by that? Are you
to look at reality?
Are you saying that Jeremy Hales gets special treatment by YouTube? That YouTube has a harassment policy, an anti-harassment policy. He makes 3 videos a week, let's say, maybe not quite that many, about John Cook and Michelle Preston, that they don't ask for, that he's constantly belittling them. He will drive by their house and videotape into their backyard. And YouTube has no problem with that. But if I make sexually explicit content that they don't identify, they won't tell me what it is, they just remove my channel. So you're saying that YouTube gives him an unfair advantage, but how does social media do that for Danesh?
Same thing. He's got TikTok and he's got other places, and Meta and Instagram. He's got account managers the same way that they have for YouTube, it's have for Meta, they have for TikTok. People within the companies that help these larger creators. Once you get another couple of zeros after your follower count that you already have, instead of 1,000, you have 100,000, 200,000, 500,000, a million. Then you're making big money for these people, and your stuff gets featured. It gets bumped up in the algorithm, and they actually help you make money because they make money. Okay, they promote you, and they promote you at the expense of smaller creators. So you're not treated the same. The whole key to due process and equal protection is an equal protection principle, right? So that the smallest guy.
Whoa. Due process is in courts, in the court of law. There's no due process in YouTube. No one is.
Yes, there is. Under the agreement, it's assumed that you're going to be treated fairly, right? If they're not treating the people fairly under the terms of their agreement, they're not treating people fairly under the terms of their agreement. They don't say so in their terms of agreement. So it's assumed that they're going to be treating people fairly. You have a good faith and fair dealing assumption under every contract you make.
They should put in their terms of service that if
we reserve the right not to treat people fairly. If they said
No,
that
that if you have
in
less
there.
than 10,000 followers, you're more likely to violate rules, whereas people with
They don't
over
put that. They
10,000
don't put
followers.
that in there because it would violate a duty of good faith and fair dealing in contract law. But they're violating the duty of good faith and fair dealing under the terms of their agreement and under contract law because they're not treating people alike. They're not treating people fairly. It's like saying, we don't like you because you have a small number of people. We don't like you because you're a woman. We don't like you because you're from Japan. We don't like you because you're black. It's the same type of class type of stuff. There are different classes that people make, and it's a biased class of people. They're treating people that make them money differently than people that aren't making them as much money, but they don't
aren't
tell
they
you that.
supposed to? Why wouldn't they treat somebody who makes them more money?
Because then it eviscerates Section 230 230 liability.
Well, okay, first of all, hold on. What is Section 230?
Section 230 says if these guys act like zebras, if they act like neutral content, middlemen, they just deliver the content.
I don't think that's what Section 230 says, though.
Yes, it does. They're a platform. It's platform anti-liability provision. There's no liability for a platform unless, of course, they're broadcasting pornography or they're doing like 2 or 3 different things under the statute. But if that liability only goes if they're a neutral content provider, a neutral platform provider. If they start getting non-neutral with the content providers and get a pecuniary benefit, there's Ninth Circuit precedent and there's other circuit precedent.
All right, but hold on. Well, here is what, according to Google, which is owned by Alphabet, which also owns YouTube. After Google bought YouTube, sometime after they created a holding company to own all of it because they owned a bunch of stuff. It says Section 230 is a law that provides legal protection to online platforms from being held liable for the content posted by their users. That means you can't sue YouTube for defamation, only the user. It also protects them from liability for their decisions to moderate or remove content they deem objectionable. It seems like YouTube is covered by 230. In my case,
go to the immunity for third-party content. Read that first sentence, and I'll tell you what's wrong.
Platforms are not legally responsible for user-generated content such as a defamatory post on a review site or harmful speech on a social media platform. The liability falls on the person who created the content, not the platform hosting it.
So if you are a partner with the person who has created the content and you receive a pecuniary benefit, you are now a quasi-creator of that content. So they're making themselves quasi-creators of the content with certain people and non-creators with others. So they retain liability. They retain their immunity from liability with a whole slew of people, but they've exposed themselves to liability because they're not applying their rules uniformly with others. So if they're a quasi-partner, then that waives the immunity. And this is not me. This is not Richard Luthmann. This is there's case law in the Ninth Circuit. There's case law, I think, in the Seventh Circuit, some other circuits that leads to this conclusion. And if it gets to the Supreme Court of the United States, that may very well be the rule of Section 230 when they engage in monetary gain with respect to certain content providers, and that's influences their
monetary gain. That's the point of the platform is to make money. I'm not seeing it. I think that YouTube
can make money through hosting. They're making their money through hosting, not through promotion of specific content or over others. Then they're a quasi content creator. The second they become a content creator, there's no liability.
Well, right, but YouTube has billions of pieces of content. How can they only host it without promoting some? It has to be promoted.
When their algorithmic decisions favor one class over
another.
But
I think that's the moderation. That falls under moderation, though, doesn't it?
I think if it crosses the line from moderation to something else, and that becomes quasi-partnership.
I don't think so. I think right here that covers their algorithm, their liability for their decisions to moderate. That their algorithm pushes some things to the top. That's part of the moderation. Other things to the bottom. I think Section 230 is so strong it covers that.
By implicitly authorizing certain content over others, it's the same as creating the content, Michael. That's what the law has said in certain places. So, Mike, it's a legal argument. We don't know what the answer is. We do not know what the answer is because this is an emergency.
I think I have no case if I sued them. All right. So I think that's the end of the What the Hail segment. We've got some of our own articles. The first one is a deep dive I did with Marty Gottesfeld. Let's talk about Marty. That's Marty right there. Marty went to jail for like several years because he was trying to save a woman, a girl at the time. She's a woman now, Justina Pelletier, who was being medically kidnapped by Boston Children's Hospital, which is Harvard affiliated. I don't know exactly the relationship between the hospital. He did a DDoS attack. What that does is effectively divert internet traffic from where it normally go, like where it naturally goes, all to one place, or maybe in other cases, other multiple places. But in this case, Marty was somehow able to do it, that a bunch of internet traffic went to the Boston Children's Hospital website, which doesn't necessarily get a ton of traffic. So it shut the website down. It shut it down during their donation drive, which was deliberate. There was no medical data on the website. There was really, what their address was, who their top doctor is, that sort of thing was on the website. But because they were affiliated with Harvard, they went at Marty hard. He went to jail, but I've known him since he was in jail. I wrote several articles about him when he was in jail. I communicated with his wife while he was in jail. He likes the stuff I've done on Bierman Law Group, who you've also written about. And so he did a deep dive on their political donations, found that they gave over $180,000 between the law firm, its lawyers, and their family members, but it's over a many-year period, including a lot of judges. One judge who did not receive any money is Regina Scanicchio. There she is. That's Regina Scanicchio. And he had a theory about that. Regina Scanicchio ran unopposed and has since only had retention elections. It does strike me as odd that she garners only a little over 75%. See, 75% is low in a retention election. We talked about earlier in the broadcast that those guys are getting like 60s. That's really low in the retention election. To have 1/5 of the electorate not want her makes it seem many are aware of something that makes them dislike her. Anyway, she may not have registered a campaign or given. She's never even received token opposition. So there may not be a reason to give her any money, because she's just, even though she has elections, they're not really elections because she'll never lose. And they did give to a lot of different judges, including like Aurelia Puczynski, who's on the appellate court. This lady who's now on the appellate court, who was a circuit court judge. But I don't think anything that I found here was extraordinary about their political donations. Now, they are accused in a federal lawsuit of running a bribery scheme. So that's pretty serious. But I thought a deep dive about their political donations was a good idea as well. Any thoughts on that article?
You got to, consider what is expected in the business of law and justice, and what crosses the line. Mm-hmm. Right? It's not uncommon for somebody who's a sitting judge to run for re-election, hold a fundraiser, and have 100 lawyers in a room, each writing $1,000 check. Mm-hmm. It's that easy for judges to command that type of stuff. So I think in Bierman's defense, and those words you don't hear from me very often, but in Bierman's defense, to a certain extent, they're not doing anything differently than any other large Chicago law firm is doing.
I had this debate with Marty. Should this be illegal? Should you bar lawyers from giving campaign donations to judges?
Well, I think you have commercial speech, and you have a right to associate. You have a lot of issues there related to campaign finance. I don't think that you can bar somebody from giving money if they're a citizen or a voting person.
Isn't that a form of speech? Isn't that a form of speech?
United and its progeny, money is speech, and that's the issue we have today. And so I think the issue is disclosure. Like, if somebody gives money, you have to disclose it.
All right. So
contributions, you have to be capped or limited. But
hold on. I was watching a hearing in Orange County, California, and the judge's name was Ibrahim Baytieh, Baytieh, and he did some spiel about this, that, or the other. I don't remember what the spiel was about. At the end of the spiel, he said, right outside my courtroom, I have a list of my donors for full disclosure. Do you think something like that should be mandated?
I think it should be. I think that I'm someone who favors transparency in all the courts, you know, both in access to information, access to donation, access to what's going on, to find out who really owns the person. In NASCAR, it's easy to see who owns the driver because the logos are written on their chest. It's a lot harder when someone's wearing a black robe. So I agree with you that there should be better mechanisms to see these things. So you're 100%.
I think it should be mandated what Judge Bati does voluntarily. Judge Bati, just as an aside, was a hotshot prosecutor until it was found out that he was running a scheme to withhold a lot of evidence. And what was crazy is in the middle of that scandal, he decided to run for judge and he won. So he is on the bench completely fairly, even though everyone knows that when he was a prosecutor, he was involved in the scheme to withhold evidence. A lot of people are in jail, even though they shouldn't be. Some of them might be guilty, but they wouldn't have been found guilty if he had not withheld the evidence. But number one, you cannot block lawyers from giving to judges. That is a form of speech. But I agree with you. I think judges should be mandated to do what Bati did. Put a sheet of paper or however many sheets of paper out front of your courtroom, and that would help a lot. That kind of stuff is going to get photographed and will go online, and people will be able to see it. All right. All right. Next, you've been doing a series on this lady. You call her a Black Widow, and okay, the title of the article is Black Widow's 400-page meltdown. Why do you call this lady? Well, who is the lady, and why do you call her a Black Widow?
Well, her name is Elizabeth Faulkner. Okay, and she's an attorney in Kingston, New York, which is in Ulster County. And we call her the Black Widow because she has a pattern of not only, you know, taking clients and sucking them dry, but also taking certain clients, marrying them, and then sucking them dry, not as a lawyer, but as in divorce court as a litigant. So she's gone through a couple of men that way. She's had 4 or 5 different husbands, from what we've heard.
All right.
And now, this part is fairly egregious.
She had a 400-page meltdown. Is this her?
That's her.
The Black Widow. All right.
That's the Black Widow.
Well, how did she have a meltdown in 400 pages?
Looking to catch you in her web, Michael. You know, she puts on a nice smile, throws some eyelashes, and you're in her web.
I have dealt with someone like that. I will hopefully not make that mistake again. But yes, I have dealt with a Black Widow type person. Okay. How did she have a 400-page meltdown?
Well, this is with Helen Garber, and Helen Garber is a protective mother from Ulster County, and she is a nurse, and she's been helped very, very greatly by Dave Weigel, who's our friend and who's the foundation for the Family Court Fraud Warrior Project, the Family Court Fraud Warrior Project, and it's David Weigel. And so he went up to court in Kingston. And he went up there and he observed the court, and he got thrown out of the court. And he had this judge named Sarah Rakoff that said, you know, Weigel, what are you doing here? It's like, I'm a family court watchdog. I'm the Family Court Fraud Warrior Project. I'm here. I'm here to provide transparency to the public of what's going on. They kicked him out of the court. So he's been pushing. Well, this 400-page paper, set of papers, was an ex parte order. Michael, you've heard a thing or two about ex parte orders, right?
Yes, done without the benefit of the other side knowing about it.
And so what Faulkner did was after he got involved, Weigel got involved, and Garber was there. She brings this ex parte order that somehow the daughter who's in Garber's custody is in grave danger, has to be taken out of her custody, and the biggest reason is because of David Weigel and talking in the media about it, and the connection to an anti-Semitic blog.
She got an ex parte order to remove children from the mother based on things that Dave Weigel said online about the case?
That's first what happened. The order got presented and it got signed, right? So what they do is the Faulkner gets the order, and they said part of it was that it was Weigel. The other part was that she was connected to a, quote, anti-Semitic blog named thefamilycourtcircus.com. And so that's a terrible.
Wait. The familycourtcircus.com was the blog that that Paul Boyne, who is an anti-Semite, he's an anti a lot of stuff, definitely wrote for, probably edited. He doesn't want to admit it. I think he's arguing semantics there. As a result of certain things he put on the blog, he's now facing criminal charges that he's been facing since the summer of 2023. Yes, despite having the right to a speedy trial, that right is not given to Paul. We've discussed, Paul. Some of the writing is reprehensible. A lot of the writing is illuminating and it exposes a lot of things. But and it's possible that the reprehensible part was done to attract attention. But be that as it may, now they want to associate this woman with Paul's blog. Now, does she write for the blog?
No, it was just a couple articles.
There were articles about her case. Wait. There were articles about her case in the blog.
On the blog, written by Richard Luthmann.
Now, that happened in another case. Lauren Hayden, who I wrote about, she won a landmark civil lawsuit. I don't remember how much money she won. It was a lot, but it doesn't even matter how much money she won, because even though she won it in December of 2023, and I mean, a jury came back and said, we're giving you like $500,000 or $1 million. It might have been $1.5 million. It was some guy. It's been stuck in appeals. She's received nothing. Her lawyers have received nothing. But Lauren had the same thing happen to her because Paul wrote about her case in a similar way. Her ex used that to say she's like unstable, things to that effect. Basically the same kind of thing, right?
Yeah, and so the judge finds this.
I think that Paul's anti-Semitism, and it's blatant anti-Semitism, it hurts. It doesn't help. I will defend
He
Paul.
no longer owns the blog, and
Right.
I'm the editor of the blog, right? I'm the editor. I'm
Right.
very clearly the editor. I'm
Paul,
the writer of.
I will defend Paul. He shouldn't be charged. They don't like him. They also, I think they overestimate his effect, but I think they think that he was at least having an effect in exposing primarily the Connecticut judiciary. But I think he hurts people. I think if he had written it straight with the same kind of evidence that he was getting, it would help people expose their case. Instead, people don't want their case to wind up on the family court circus because it has that stench.
So here's how it goes. This order to show cause was presented. The order was presented. It was signed immediately. And then what happens is they take this order, they give it to the police, and they drive up to the school. And they go there and give it to the principal and say, you can't hand the daughter back to the mother. Okay? Mm-hmm. Cannot hand the daughter back. Oh, that's the next article. Sarah Rakoff. Go back up.
Right. No. I want to get. I want to show some of the anti-Semitic.
So go back. Go to the very top. We'll show you. I'll show you the stuff.
All right. Here we go. So I think this was written by Paul.
So that's me.
Doyle moves to gag Paul. Oh no!
I wrote this one. This one's sanitized. I'll show you a Paul one. If you want to see a Paul one, I'll tell you one to go to. Yeah, that one. Try that one. Suck a bag of dicks. That's not that. This one wasn't written by me.
I don't know where.
Streeto. Go back up. Well, Elmo decries Jewish conspiracy. Go down. Right there. Elmo decries.
Elmo decries Jewish conspiracy. This is the kind of stuff. Here, longtime Sesame Street resident Elmo decried the federal government's defunding of PBS as an obvious Jewish conspiracy. Anyway, he hoax. Yeah, he likes to say that. I can't tell.
This wasn't written by Paul. This was written by William J. Lepetamine, who's a world-class socialist from the 1870s.
Yeah, that's Paul. All right, that's Paul.
Right.
So anyway, this guy. So Paul puts a lot of anti-Semitic stuff on the blog. There's no reason for him to do it. He does it anyway. I don't know why he does it, but I think it hurts people as a result. It's not something that he should have been doing. All right, go ahead.
Well, go back to the front page. Go to the top of the blog right now, and then click on the logo. We'll take you back to the front page, all the way on the left. Yeah, there you go. Click on that. Judge Sarah Rakoff. Click on that now. Here's another example of something that wasn't written by me. This was written by Baron Bombers. And now,
right? That's a real person.
The view is that this is that Sarah Rakoff, she recused herself on this case, and the case is going to another judge, but they're covering for a pedophile ring. That's the view of this Baron. And if you go down, you can click the video. It's actually pretty funny. It's about 20 seconds long. But that is, that's one of the issues we have here. There we go.
525,600 paddles. That's how many live in your town. 525,600 paddles. Your son or daughter are chatting with them now. On Discord, Omegle, in chat rooms and subreddits. On playgrounds, in malls and at Chuck E. Cheese.
They moved in next door. You'll see them at the grocery store. They're at the park, at the pool, outside of the middle school.
Okay.
So what happens? This article, it's the author that Attorney Faulkner, who's called Attorney Fucker, is really covering for Gillis, the father, who's really a pedophile. The daughter's 10 years old, and she's at the perfect age to be groomed and then sexually used. And so that's the view, another view of this story that's being presented. You see my articles; they talk more about what's going on with the courts. This is going further down range and talking about what may very well be lurking behind in the shadows that's not exposed. So that's kind of what is fueling a lot of this animus.
All right. Next, you and I have both interviewed Arizona State Senator Mark Fincham and Arizona State Representative Rachel Keschel and Arizona State Representative Lisa Fink. All three are Republicans. They were three members. I think there are six total. Oh, yeah, here you go. They're on here of what's called the Ad Hoc Joint Legislative Committee on Family Court Orders. Actually, the Joint Legislative Ad Hoc Committee on Family Court Orders. They held several hearings. The hearings are over. The next step is a report. Now, this is only 6 pages. I hope that they have more than a 6-page report. I hope this is like the mini report. But they give they give some of like their legislative ideas. This one I find interesting. Child safety over parental contact. Right here in both B and C, child safety over parental contact. That is a view that is opposite to you. That signals that they're not going to go for 50-50 presumption, like they do in Florida and other states, like they tried in the country of Australia. That child safety is going to be the key, as opposed to making sure that all parents have lots and lots of time with their kids. That you make sure that the child is in a safe environment. Your thoughts on that?
So, Mike, if they do that, they're going antithetical to what they said they were going to do to lessen the size of government, lessen the size of intrusion into people's lives, because now you have a CPS determination in every case. It's not about, and it's going to be an intrusive one as well, because safety is such a malleable term. And so it's going to create the situation where the lawyers are going to game the system to create more acrimony, to make there to be a safety issue when there's not.
I don't disagree with that, but presume 50-50 is complete garbage. To believe that one size fits all or fits most is the way to go is total nonsense. But I would not go with presume 50-50 at all. The other thing that I saw in here is there's a lot of training. Training is the worst idea for any kind of judicial reform. So when I look at reform of family courts, there are like 4 categories that I think need fixing. One, judges have too much power, so reduce their power. One way to reduce it is to have less laws with may and more laws with either shall or shall not. There's other ways to reduce their power. 2, lots of money, so reduce the amount of money. 3, it's too complicated, so make it simpler. 4, it's non-transparent, so make it more transparent. Training doesn't really help in any of those 4 categories. In fact, It adds money. That's number one. Number two, who does the training? And then those people have an outsized influence. And then the people who are doing the training, if they're so smart, why aren't they the judges? Number three, if judges need training, how did they become judges if they still need training? Why are you,
no, Michael, no, you're missing a point there, and I'll tell you why. I think that you do need training for judges in a certain area, and this is the area because let's say you get somebody who's a criminal lawyer or a public defender or even a prosecutor, and then they go to sit on the family court bench. They have very little understanding of domestic violence. They have very little understanding of coercive control, right? And so you get in a situation where a woman alleges there's violence going on, and then you have
someone who is
has no evidence, right? Has no evidence per se. And you're a criminal lawyer or a prosecutor, say, well, where's your evidence, man? Show us your evidence. If you're evidentiary based totally, what like some of the other courts are, like a civil court definitely is, and like a criminal court most times is. If you're an evidence based mindset, you don't see some of the telltale signs and have the malleability that a court should have. Okay,
that's not the job of the court. First of all, that's not the job of the court. It's
not the job of the court to recognize domestic violence.
Yeah, the job of the court is to look at evidence. The judge should be trained
to telltale signs of domestic violence and not be beholden totally to the evidence.
You can't present evidence of domestic violence, but I actually should still be able to see it. Ridiculous. That's number one. Number two, if you were in criminal law, you didn't do any domestic violence. Number three, then don't put those people on the family court bench. But
training people, and that's the problem. You said there's something unqualified people in family court. The bottom of the barrel ends up in family court, Michael. I don't think you're disagree with that.
Okay, then their training will be on the bench. But anybody who thinks training is the right idea doesn't understand the problems. And it's not the judge's job to recognize, quote unquote, domestic violence. It's the judge's job to evaluate the evidence presented. If there's domestic violence, but you can't present evidence of it, then I'm sorry.
You have to wait for a body in order to get the evidence.
Well, yeah, the world isn't perfect, but you can't say, well, there's no actual evidence, but I know how to recognize domestic violence, so there's the evidence, but there's no evidence. Ridiculous. Totally.
Do you think Kendra's law is a positive for VAWA? It's a positive.
I don't know, and the term coercive.
I think it's an indictment. I think it's an indictment of violence against women. It's the death of a child. It shows that it's a failing system. We only react when we have death. We have the egregious case, and what training does? It helps you recognize. You know what? Don't press the pedal on this and accelerate. Let's slow this down and find the facts. All I'm asking for here is a little bit of training to people to recognize what the categories of facts are as a jurist that they want to see. So they can say, instead of making it a quick determination, well, we're going to adjourn this thing for 20 days or 30 days for you to have your chance to come in and give us some more evidence. That's all that I'm talking about here, Michael. Right. I'm not talking about fabricating evidence, or I'm talking about not making hasty decisions that hurt an abused party that has less access to legal counsel, less access to resources. That's all I'm talking about, Michael.
Not the court's job.
I don't want dead children is what I don't want.
I understand, but that's not the court's job. The court's job is to make sure the court.
Children? I think that's the court's number one job.
Right. Well, no, the court's job is to make sure that the court
there are no dead children. I think that's the court's job. No. That's in the description. That should be line 1 in family court.
Right.
The best interest of the children is that the children is not
right.
dead.
Well, the best interest of the children is very vague. You make sure that
not being dead is pretty clear.
Right. No, you make sure that everyone gets a fair chance to present their evidence, and you evaluate the evidence. That's the court's job. All of this other stuff, this is like fantasy world, that somebody's going to be up there and there won't really be evidence, but you'll be able to see the signs of domestic violence. So even though there's not really evidence, you see evidence where it's not there. The other problem is, if that's the training, then what the judges are going to do is they're going to recognize domestic violence everywhere, including where it's not there. And then if you give them training on a whole bunch of things, they'll just get confused. And then I've seen what the training is. It's all BS. You claim that they should be trained. You don't get specific about what the training is. So once you get specific, you realize that the training is totally bogus. Okay. All right. And that is the end of the broadcast. And we'll be back next Wednesday. Thank you for watching.